Okay, thank you guys. We're back. Beacon of Hype here. We are here with our next installment of the playthrough for the murder of Brett Penance, the environmental surfer. So we last left you. We were just finishing up with our in-depth interviews with all the suspects that we have narrowed down. So we're going to actually go ahead and just breeze through the press conference, just to do one last press conference. Figured this is always good for a laugh, if nothing more. Just gonna get through this and then start doing our warrant applications, and we'll just do them for the previous murders, the murderers rather, in scenario number 1, just to see what we get for an explanation as to why they're not the killer this time, and then we'll try our hand at the ones that we think are likely. Well, I think we figured out from the last installment who our killer is, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Alright, whose phone number was found on the matchbook in the victim's bedroom? Suzanne Newcomb, who was the informant. Did the victim have any broken bones? I don't believe they did. Nope. What did Courtney Rook hear last night on the beach? Well, we know it wasn't a gunshot blast because that's from the first scenario. Nothing in particular. Has Frederick Kinsella been involved in foul play before? Implicated but never charged. These are different questions, actually. What time did Alex Soprano report arriving home last night? Nope. What's the problem with Braxton Smith's alibi? This is where she had screwed up the signatures and times of her health club. Yep. Where did Brett Penance go have a job? At Surfin' Dave's. Does Cynthia Rhodes date Frederick Kinsella? No? How many sets of identified fingerprints were found in the victim's front seat? I think there were 2. Nope, guess not. That's 2 wrong. When was the victim last reported to be seen alive? No, that's 3 wrong. How many registered voters are? Oh my god. How would I know this? 2,300? Oh, lucky guess. Why was the victim set to meet James Hall? We know he was going to give the documents implicating the hydrology reports. When did Mrs. Penance first report her son missing? That was at 8:30 yesterday evening. How was nicotine used in Brett Penance's murder? Okay, this is exclusive to this particular scenario. Huh? As a red herring. Inside a muscle ointment. Wasn't used in something he drank before surfing. It was injected. So we know it was a muscle ointment. Does Amos Johnson have an alibi for the estimated time of death? No, he does not. Boy, we've been through a lot of questions, haven't we? What did Courtney Rook hear last night on the beach? We already did this. Okay, I think did we get screwed up here? No.
Great job with the press, Detective. You really let them know who's in control. At this point, you can conduct in-depth interviews with up to 3 suspects, or go straight to making your warrant application. Whatever you do, good luck.
Alright, so we're doing our warrant applications. So let's get out of here so we can use up some time on all our warrants. So, we're going to go. We know that in this case, automatically the weapon of choice was nicotine. However, what we have to do is also the time of death. Was it sometime between 6 and 7? Well, I guess we'll see. I forget. Honestly, I should have probably checked that before we started this, but we'll learn together. So let's go. So we know that the people that would not be implicated in this scenario, that we know of anyway, 2 direct people, are Edward Talaman, who assisted with Brett's murder in the first scenario, and Al Ciprano. So let's try Edward first. In this case, can't be confirmed he was alone, I think. Let's try money business. Let's see what we got here for Ed. I wonder if they'll shoot us down because of the scenario not being applicable.
I think your motive for this suspect is a bit of a long shot considering the facts, but I'll grant you a warrant.
Okay, let's go.
I'm not proud of my involvement in this in any way, but I never thought it was going to involve murder. Someone from Fred's office called this week and asked if I'd be around late Friday. They asked me to stand up by the turn to the boathouse and say the road was being worked on.
What?
I was to let only 2 people through. I can't identify them. They were wearing stockings over their head when they came by. They were driving a white Mercedes, older. I should have gotten suspicious then. They were dressed all in black. I owed Fred a favor. He got some money owed to me from a distributor in Europe. I feel terrible about this. I'm so sorry. I finally couldn't sit with my conscience.
Interesting.
I think these must be the disappearing Elias brothers. We don't have a single lead on them. I find it odd that they could have killed Brett in the way that he was killed from a boat. It just doesn't make sense. I think someone else is the killer.
Okay. Huh.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
Well, that's interesting. So, okay, so I guess maybe we'll find this out in the third scenario too. So, in all scenarios involved, these Elias brothers are on the scene, and in this case, we got the same exact video from Ed explaining that he was, he did actually let them through past the gate like he did in the first scenario, but here it jumps to it being explained that while the Elias brothers were there, they couldn't have been able to kill Brett this time around. So good. I'm glad we played that one. So let's try Al Ciprano then. So we've got nicotine as the weapon between 6 and 7. Money and business for Al as well. And let's see. I think this one we've got the discrepancy with the paint crew and wait staff because of him going to the burger joint with his co-workers.
Excellent work, Detective. You've put together a fine case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope you found your murderer.
Al Ciprano was involved in a crime against Brett, but it wasn't murder. He met Margaret Harden at a site on East Road a little before 5:30. They were supposed to switch cars so that she could drive to the beach and steal some documents that they suspected Brett had. Documents that would ruin the chances for Fossil Cove. When Harden arrived, she had 2 men with her, who took off in her car. A neighbor saw all this and confirms it. Mrs. Goodwin also said she saw them at the house several times a week. She said it was obvious that Harden and Ciprano were having an affair, and Ciprano admits it. The 2 men in the Mercedes returned at around 6:30. Harden left with them in her car, and Ciprano left later. Ciprano didn't do it.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
Wow. Man, this is really cool in a way because I like some of the stuff I'm seeing for the first time along with you guys because I never thought to give these a try before. So in this scenario, just like with Edward, Al is still essentially conducting himself the same way, meeting up with Margaret Harden, switching cars just like in the first scenario, but in this case, the brothers take off in her car, and obviously in this case, Margaret and Al are having an affair. And and they were all the only thing that they were looking to do to Brett or against Brett was to steal the documents. Nothing mentioned about killing him. So, all right. So I'd say now I think we can probably eliminate Fred Kinsella from this whole deal. So let's go ahead and get our settings back here. And let's try Cynthia. I mean, her alibi is pretty snug. I would say that the same thing holds true for her money in business. She's the only other person aside from Stella Gibbs that would have any kind of actual knowledge of the nicotine alkaloid stuff and actually maybe utilize it with her garden. Let's get confirmed by interested party. See what we get. She might be too good.
Just to remind you, Detective, you've used 1 hour.
Yeah.
And 5 left.
Hers might be too solid to even try to get her.
Everything about this makes sense to me except the motive. I cannot grant you a warrant to arrest, Detective. Please check the facts and reapply.
Okay. So let's see then if we can do this. Nicotine. So money in business didn't work for her, so let's try just basic anger.
Everything about this makes sense to me except the motive. I cannot grant you a warrant to arrest, Detective. Please check the facts and reapply.
All right. That's weird. I don't know what else it could be. Just hatred?
Everything about this makes sense to me except the motive. I cannot grant you a warrant to arrest, Detective. Please check the facts and reapply.
All right, what do you think, guys? Well, let's try one more and then give up on Cynthia, because I feel like none of these other ones would really be appropriate for her. I think the only one left is pride. Because temporary insanity, come on. I doubt sexual obsession and doubt love. To defend honor, I don't know honor of what. So let's try pride.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
There are 4 hours remaining. Have you tried retracing the victim's route?
Everything about this makes sense to me except the motive. I cannot grant you a warrant to arrest, Detective. Please check the facts and reapply.
All right. Well, you know what? You got me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm too intrigued by seeing this as an option, so I'm going for it.
Everything about this makes sense to me except the motive. I cannot grant you a warrant to arrest, Detective. Please check the facts and reapply.
Okay. All right, let's go with the most likely of all of our suspects here, Stella Gibbs. Hers was confirmed, I think, by just her son. So let's, I guess, leave it that interested party. So we got that. We got nicotine. Let's try pride for her.
Although the time of death could be more specific, it is supported by the autopsy findings.
Here we go. Yep.
All my life, people have been telling me what to do. All my life. First it was my father, the meanest man I ever knew. And it was that pitiful example of a human being, Owen Gibbs. When I didn't do what Owen said, he'd take me out to the barn, away from the children, and beat me. And when he finally died, slow and painful, just like he deserved, I was so glad. I finally thought I was free. Worked like a slave all my life. No one to tell me what to do ever again. Ever. And Fred Kinsella comes along and promises me $7 million. Freedom. In style
Outstanding work, Detective. I probably couldn't have solved this case as fast myself. What? Are you after my job?
Well, there we go. That one was a little bit more of a easier indicator as far as, narrowing it down based on the method of killing and who had access to what knowledge, or in this case, what supplies even on our farm. But no, it's actually interesting how in this case, like both the killers are somewhat sympathetic in a way. Al Ciprano was just, doing it almost because he was forced into it and just was a lucky shot. And in this case, we find out a little bit about Stella in her backstory there with her husband and being under his thumb for the better part of their lives together. And but okay, yes, we just went through our second scenario here of the environmental surfer. So let's go ahead and we're only about 16 minutes in, so let's go ahead and maybe get scenario 3 rolling. Maybe we'll chop this off at around the 30-minute mark, 45-minute mark. So we'll just at least get scenario number 3 begun, so we have an idea of the different way that Brett's killed in this one. Slowest hunt and peck typewriter ever. Alright. So we get an investigation, and we know the deal. We're going to pick, in this case, number 3. Alright. Here we go with the report of the murder.
A body was found on Surfside Beach 2 hours ago. A local surfer named Brett Penance. He was found by a woman out walking her dog at dawn. Yesterday afternoon around 4, Penance told his mother he was heading out to surf the big swells coming in. Janet Penance reported her son missing at 8:30 p.m. last night. His car was found still parked at the beach an hour later. We talked to some of his surfing buddies who were with him on Friday. They all quit early because the waves were too rough. They told us Penance had kept surfing. Initially, we ruled it an accidental death from drowning, but then the county coroner started to notice some irregularities. The body was above the high tide line on the beach. A member of the crime scene unit found some strange tracks and marks leading from the parking area on the other side of the dunes. The wetsuit wasn't very wet, and there are bruises all over the victim's neck. Coroner's guess is that Penance was strangled. We won't know for sure until the autopsy report is complete. Initial estimated time of death is between 6 and 7 last night. Penance is a bit of a local legend. He's one of the best young surfers in the country. He's no dummy either. He was on his way to Stanford University on a full academic scholarship this coming September. One thing we are sure of, he's not your usual murder target. Several people we spoke to think it has to do with Brett's involvement in the fight over the condo development at Fossil Cove. They all say Brett was fiercely opposed to it and wasn't afraid to say so. The permit battle has practically split the town in two. I'm not sure how much you'll find at the crime scene. As I've said, he may have been killed elsewhere, but we've left the body for you to take a look. We've also impounded the victim's car, Detective, and sealed off his room at home in case there's any clues there. It's a tricky situation, boss. The chief is nervous about the town's reputation once the press gets a hold of it. We've got to find Penance's killer, and find him quick.
Find him quick? Oh, interesting. Can't remember if that's in the other reports. I think she just let something slip there. Alright, well, again, I'm going to go ahead and actually, we are at the 20-minute mark now, and you know by now, if you guys are regular viewers, how I usually kind of structure these things out by the videos kind of just deal with particular scenarios at a time. So this one is kind of a little bit of a preview of scenario number 3, combined with our solving the second scenario. But given that we've covered all that we need to, I think we'll chop it off here. And this will just whet everyone's appetite for when we get the ball rolling in its entirety for scenario number 3 of Brett Penance's murder. Hopefully, I think this one, I think will be in the same kind of boat that we were for the second scenario, where obviously we're eliminating certain people from consideration, so we can maybe just do like I usually do for you guys. I'll just kind of cover the witness interview, like the witness interviews, show you any differences that pop up, and also the suspect interviews. I'll just get those out of the way even before we start recording, so we can just check out the alibis, other sources, anything that might be unique to this scenario that changes compared to the other two. So this is Beacon of Hype. Thanking you for tuning in on this shorter than usual upload, but I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you.